dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And you're back on Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio America Network. I remain your host, Mark Angelides. We're continuing today's conversation with Liberty Nation's enterprise reporter, one of the greatest minds in modern writing, journalism writing, in my opinion, Mr. Joe Schaeffer. Thanks for being here, Joe.
Well, thank you. I don't know about that, but thanks for having me.
Well, it's all about the appeal, isn't it? It's what you kind of enjoy yourself, and that's where we come. So some people think Shakespeare's great. I do. But of course, there's once again, there's the biannual Shakespeare was racist and didn't represent the African diaspora during his time of writing, which I think was like 0.01% or something like that. But obviously, you know, there's always representation. Now, speaking of representation, let's talk about the second No Kings protests that America saw this last weekend. Joe, what's your take on the No Kings protest? But we should point out, by the way, congratulations to the estimated 7 million people who came out on Saturday, because on Sunday, America had, and count them here, I'll just double check my maths, no kings. So arguably the most successful movement in modern American history.
Well, my thoughts on it, I don't know if this is a discussion you were thinking of, but what reminds me is, why do they always have to do it in the lamest, most unappealing way to what I would refer to as just normal Americans who just want to get by and live their lives? It always comes across, everything they do with these anti-Trump protests are like a maniacal high school glee club or something, you know, just as irritating as possible. So it's like, just socially, it's so unwelcoming. But I don't think these people really are trying to welcome people from all stripes of life. This is a closed bubble. This is people who think alike on everything. They don't really want to embrace people who don't think like they do. Oh, they say they do. Like, oh, come join. They don't want you to join us. This is for them. This is their thing. It's very clubby. It's very high school in the worst way. A glee club is a good way of putting it. It's like an artificial like false sense of joy, you know, while they're expressing their misery. I don't know how to say it better, but it's so off-putting to regular people in a way that they just do not understand at all.
I think what you're getting at there, Joe, and I'm inclined to agree with you on this, is that it's so astroturfed that it lacks complete authenticity. And so when people are protesting against something, what at the very minimum, what we expect is for them to believe in what they're doing. And it doesn't seem to me that that's what's happening here. What we're actually seeing in reality is people are saying there's something that's anti-Trump, therefore I should be involved. Do they really think that Trump's going to try and make himself a king? In reality, I think not. Do they think that Trump will successfully manage to get the other two branches of government to go along with the executive? Well, probably not, right? Or almost certainly not, in fact, because much of Trump's first term was taken up with court challenges and a lot of time spent in Congress there defending the various impeachments. And so they don't really think that's going to happen. And do they think that he's going to be the contender in 2028 when he will be, how old will he be then? 83 years old? I mean, do they really believe that? I just don't find it convincing that they believe that what they're protesting has a value. They just believe that protesting Donald Trump is the thing to do, and they'll join on any bandwagon, no matter how astroturfed or inauthentic, or, as you say, maniacally glee clubbish that it is.
Yeah. I really think that's it. What you just said there, it's a lockstep thing. And I read this somewhere. I'm not going to have a lot of information, but came across some study or poll or something. They said there is more diversity of opinion on the right than the left. Meaning you can have differing views on certain subjects on the right, but overall there's kind of like a common thread. there is no room for that disagreement on the left. They'll throw you out if you disagree with them on the core things, which basically is everything. So you have to be in lockstep with them. There's kind of an absence of thought in this uniformity, and so you see these performative uniform gestures like the no kings thing, and it's just, again, it's so unappealing to anybody who just wants to be their own person, think for themselves, just live their own lives. I mean, I don't want to compare it to a cult because that's so overblown, but it is people who are not thinking for themselves and letting other people think for them, and for some reason they believe that it's important for them to show up and say, yes, go ahead, please, it's important for you to think for me, because you are not seeing a lot of individual perspective in any of these events. It's uniform, it's monolithic, and it's extraordinarily dull.
I think part of that two things occur. One is that there's an ideological purity test, and if you don't pass that purity test, then you're literally, not literally, of course, but in their terms, you're literally killing people if you don't pass their ideological purity test, and that does not make for a welcoming tent, by a long shot. And the other one is, you mentioned that it's like that they don't think for themselves in this, and I mean, there are smart people there. That there are absolutely smart people, but it's not that they can't think for themselves. To me, it seems as though that what's the right word? They've outsourced their thinking. And George Orwell, great author, but read his essays. If you haven't read his essays, that they're way above any of the books that he put out, in my opinion. He did this great essay on the English language. I think it was 73 or 77. I can't remember the exact year. But and what he talked about was people, when they're writing or even when they're speaking, they use stock phrases. And these stock phrases are becoming more and more commonplace. It's almost like if you're writing an essay for college and you think, well, I can get 10% of my words just by using the stock phrases. And if we consider the blah, blah, blah. And what that does is it outsources actually thinking for yourself, because you're using pre-made, easily digestible sound bites of language. And this No Kings protest, that to me, that seems exactly what it is. I mean, it's a great slogan, right? No kings. America doesn't want kings. We had a king 250 years ago. We don't want another one. It's done. It's no kings. And it sounds great. It's such a good, catchy slogan, no kings. But it's a stock phrase. It doesn't mean anything in the actual context of the United States. Well, of course you're not going to have a king in the United States. It's just nonsensical. And so what they've done is they've adopted something that sounds good, that sounds like it should be a great pushback, a verbal pushback, a protesting pushback against a president they disagree with, and a political party that they disagree with as well, to some extent. But really, it's just a platitude that doesn't mean anything. It sounds good, and it makes them feel good about being part of it. When in reality, these are smart people who could think for themselves and have chosen not to. And I think that kind of ties in. They've chosen not to think for themselves because if they think for themselves, they'll fail the ideological purity test.
Yeah, I really believe that people on the right, or people who are not on the hard left, not progressive, will look at a situation and say, does this make logical sense to me? And if it does not make logical sense to you, you will struggle to accept it. People on the ideological left, these no kings, progressive types, if my logic can't accept this, there's something wrong with my logic. I have to get that fixed because I'm not going along with what I'm supposed to go along with. So that I truly believe they will suppress their own basic common sense that, God gave us all a brain, God gave us all certain instincts to come. They will suppress those instincts to go along with the ideological line. It explains so much of the madness that we've seen in the 21st century. No sane person can accept the transgender agenda, at least on logic alone. You have to suppress core basic instincts that there are two genders to go along with something that crazy. And if you can go along with something that crazy, well, you can suppress any thought in your mind to go along with what you are told is the proper accepted ideological line. And that is what we were seeing all the way. These people will never approach Donald Trump in a logical way, because it will go against their whole identity, their whole meaning, which is to oppose him. So if he comes up with anything good, he solves the war in Ukraine, he ends the Gaza war, they will not give him they can't give him any credit, because he is the devil to them, and logic has nothing to do with it. These people are very, very good at suppressing logic and upping the emotion to get to the ideological point that is so important to them.
Saul Alinsky would be incredibly proud, I think. So just to finish this area of conversation off, there's Professor Jordan Peterson, talks a lot about how you should always say what you mean. And he doesn't mean you should be a blowhard, just laying down your version of reality on other people. But I think the point that he really makes, and it's something that's always resonated with me since I first heard it, is if you're not speaking the truth as you understand it after you've thought about it, whose words are you speaking? Because they're not yours. And that's kind of important. Now, we're going to be back with Joe Schaeffer after this short break. We're going to be talking about how this particular mentality transfers to the corporate structure. And it's going to be quite fascinating. Don't go anywhere.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.